Alright, hey everyone, it's Mike. Let's try this again. This is the video that I seem to not be able to make. Alright, so, Tomcat asked if Big Boy was the same as Frisch's. The answer is kind of. Big Boy's a hamburger. It's like a Big Mac, only like bigger and nicer and more expensive. But it's pretty much the exact same thing. It's a double-decker hamburger. It was created by some guy named Bob in Los Angeles, California, many years ago, in like the 60s or whatever. And he was the creator of the Big Boy. And so his restaurant was named Bob's. And so then he created it as, known as Bob's Big Boy. The Big Boy of today, the corporate Big Boy of today, is no longer from Los Angeles, California. They're from Detroit, Michigan, and it was the old Elias Brothers. See, the way Big Boy worked was, Big Boy was the name of the hamburger. It was not the name of the restaurant. There was Elias Brothers, Frisch's, Bob's, Shoney's, Eaton Park, and then those were all Big Boy franchisers at one point in time. Well, Frisch's still is. So the way it would go is so in this case, Tomcat, say he owns a string of restaurants and he's licensed to sell a Big Boy hamburger. He would be known as Tomcat's Big Boy. Now, because of that, his chain would actually be named Tomcats, and then he would have the Big Boy guy out front because he's got the license to sell the Big Boy hamburger and everything else. He could also add his own things on the menu and whatnot. The thing that was different about Big Boy was, instead of like, you buying from the corporate warehouse and a Big Boy truck comes to your back door and delivers you everything, Big Boy franchisers, a lot of them, like Frisch's and Elias Brothers, they were their own warehouse and their own trucking. So that was a little bit different than everyone else. So what I thought was, well, if Tomcat had a Big Boy franchise going, he would need to have a warehouse. And so what I did was I designed a distribution system. And what I did was I used a couple different vehicles here, but we'll start with the 10-wheelers, which I thought would be good for servicing restaurants in West Virginia. I stole my design from the way Smith Dairy of Orrville, Ohio has theirs set up, because I think it's done pretty well. They have these 2007 Peterbilts, and Long Arm actually knows where this picture was taken at. So they've got these 2007 Peterbilt 10-wheeler trucks. They got quite a bit of them around in Long Arm's neighborhood because they have a warehouse there that kind of functions as like a drop lot. It's not really a factory, but it is some kind of like warehouse drop lot, and they service all of northeast Ohio from there. So anyhow, what you've got here is they have these tuck under lift gates here for unloading freezer out the side, and then this tuck under lift gate here for unloading milk and potato chip dip and all other sort of dairy products out of the back. So these are true dual zone units, which would be, there's the reefer unit right there, as you can't tell. I think this model is a 2007 Peterbilt. I don't think Peterbilt even makes this model anymore. But nonetheless, Smith Dairy, they spent a lot of money and time, you can tell, speccing these things out, because these are built fairly well, and they've thought of a lot. You've got 2 lift gates on this thing. Look at that huge platform you have to work on the back, and then that door actually slides in to keep all the cool air in. I think they got a camera or something right there, a backup camera. That's pretty nice. I mean, look at all that's really heavy duty. They spent some money. Those were all custom built things. They didn't go off the lot and just buy those trucks. And they spent a good buck getting them wrapped too. And I think they actually looked really well. I like the Ruggles Dairy, the Ruggles ice cream wrap there. I think that looks pretty sharp. I think that's really nice. So anyhow, what I designed for Tomcat's Big Boy was, I stole the design from Smith Dairy. And what we have there is we have a tuck under liftgate with a rear platform. Then our freezer comes out of the side. This is a tuck under liftgate for freezer unloading. Your dual zone reefer. That's our big boy man. See him? What I thought was every big boy franchise has to have their own big boy. Like Frisch's big boy isn't the same as Elias Brothers' big boy. So what I did was I designed our own. Yeah, pretty cool, huh? And then I gave the cab, actually, I gave it a little sleeper cab area, like a little DOT sleeper so the driver can take a nap if he runs out of hours in West Virginia somewhere. And I also have a hand truck rack on the front like a beer truck, which you don't see too much of that in the food business. But I did it because I thought we'd be maximizing cubage, and he'd need some place to keep those because when the truck's full, he won't have any place to put them. Kind of like the pop and beer guys have them on the front a lot. You see that. It's quite common with those guys. Anyhow, you can see we've got a rear platform, tuck under liftgate that comes out the side there, dual zone reefer, hand trucks. So all this was all thought of. Okay? Now, here's what it would look like filled up. This is a see-through model. We have our bulkhead right there. Yeah, I got that labeled. And then we have our freezer right there. And then this is our dry section, and this is our cooler section. And that's how it would look when it unloads. You can see this is with the lift gate extended out. And then there's a picture of a man unloading there. Now what I did was Magliner makes these little mini pallets. They're pretty cool. And what I would the way I would have it done is I would have it so everything is stacked and shrink wrapped on these mini pallets. And then a sticker would be affixed that says like stop 1 or whatever. And then it would go down on the lift gate out the side for freezer, or on the lift gate out the back. That way the driver, see, like that. That way the driver wouldn't have to really touch as much. Although it wouldn't be totally possible because you can only build those so high. Because you can't build them any higher than a hand truck. So there would be stuff stacked on top. So my idea for that would be to get a knockdown, and he could load those on those and wheel them right in. But I'd be using the little Magliner mini pallets that they make. They make them so they actually sit above ground. So you could have the floor of this tractor be stainless steel instead of like ribbed like a normal one would be. And those would sit nice and level. You could load bar them in. They'd shrink, warehouse would shrink wrap them. And then the air would still circulate underneath the product to keep it nice and cold. So that's how that would work. I would figure that kind of truck, you could do 700 cases in it, I would think. Those pallets don't take up that much cube. 700 cases would be at least 7 stops. Maybe a little less. But, I mean, you know, Frisch's Big Boy has about 13 locations. So that would be enough to do 7 stops right there. So if you had 4 of those, you could almost, you know, say we had 100 locations. 4 of those guys and then a couple tractor trailer units, which we'll get to in our second video, would be enough to do almost all of them. But I wanted the 10-wheelers for West Virginia because I thought I've driven in West Virginia. I don't think the off-roads are very truck friendly. So I wanted something that could hold the load, but at the same time be a little bit easier to navigate and a little bit easier to get into and out of a bind, at least what I was thinking. So I decided to go with the 10-wheelers there. So that's what we're going to go with for those. I'm going to make another video and explain the tractor trailers in a minute, okay? All right, I'll see you guys in a bit.